You know,
The
there's overlap between
showmanship.
the both. Yeah, the showmanship.
Yeah.
You have to put on a show.
Okay, we're live. We got Ayer with us. We've been talking a good hour before we went live, and we just landed ourselves on a
Fascinating topic.
Yeah, and
we're getting situated.
It's just when you meet people for the first time, and I don't know about you, Ayer, but I think when you meet people for the first time, it's the one and only time where you're gonna get an honest feeling about an individual, or you're gonna get this thing where I call you have one chance to make that impression on an individual, because most things in life is first impressions are everything, right? And it's a very fine line of trying to get back to that original meeting point where you got people from different walks of life who are having a conversation for the first time. And, we've talked in the comment section, but this is the first time we've actually heard your voice. And then you have this interaction. And then you just know, and let me know if I'm wrong, you two. You just know if a person is right for your entanglement, for lack of better words.
Yeah, like a vibe. I'm not getting anything, so I can't click. I don't know if it's.
Oh wait, hang on.
If it's actually going.
Hang on.
This is live, but I don't know what Streamyard does.
Hang on. Because sometimes it's finicky, and you got to re-click it. And
is it the same one for like 6 o'clock?
Yeah. It shouldn't matter. Just when we go live, we go live.
It says one waiting. What does it say on your end, Ayer?
Hang on.
It says it's live, but let me just check YouTube.
Mine says 2 waiting.
Okay, the wife is telling me make sure I choose 318, day 318.
It says it's upcoming on YouTube. Streaming, it's streaming.
Yeah, it's not okay, where is... Hang on 1 second. I just got to find where 318 is.
He did all that rambling for what? Is it winter out there yet?
It's still winter. We're approaching spring. In theory, we should be in spring by now.
That's right.
Wow, we just had a cold, icy blast of wind hit us. Was it last week?
Jeez.
It was supposed to be like 7 degrees outside, but because the wind was blowing so fast, it was -3.
Holy shit!
It's like, what the frack?
Is it true what they say about the damn spiders in the toilet?
Yes and no.
Enzo,
we do have a lot of spiders. Yeah.
Enzo, brother, there is no yes or no. Either they're in the toilet or they're not. Don't lie to me, okay? Are they in your fucking toilet or not?
For the most part, they shouldn't be.
I'm not coming to visit.
It used to be more of a true thing, but when they used to have the outdoor dunnies, like, because the critters would go in there and stash themselves in there.
Oh,
but inside a house, no, not really. I mean, the only thing I've seen huntsmen and some funnel webs around the shower. Maybe some daddy long legs around the shower, but that's not.
I mean, are those things, they're huge. They're like the size of my hand. Are they poisonous?
Nah, huntsman's no.
Okay.
They're pretty good.
You're used to that shit out there, man. That's wild. I mean, I love Australia. Don't get me wrong. I want to come out there one day and romp the backlands on a 500 KTM and really do it up. But at the same time, I'm like, I hear these stories about everything out there is trying to kill you and it's all poisonous. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, but it's a beautiful country.
It's become a kind of like a weird beam because the spiders can be quite poisonous. But for example, the redbacks, which people associated with being really, really dangerous. Very few people love them. Very few people get bites, and because their teeth are so tiny,
right?
They can't. It's rare that they will penetrate the skin. So more likely than not, like if you do get a bite from a redback, it's most likely a nip, and you won't. Like, it'll hurt, but it won't poison you.
Oh, nice.
That's not to undermine the fact that, like I found redbacks all over around in my backyard, and you still don't want to fuck around with them.
Yeah, I bet not. How big are they?
They're not that big. The females are obviously much bigger. Snakes generally want to be left alone.
Correct. I agree with you there.
So again, you have to kind of work at them to piss them off.
Yeah.
The most destructive thing around the area where I live are the freaking birds, especially the galahs and the kookaburra, and then the galahs and the cockatoos.
Cockatoos. Oh, so like they just shit on everything, or they just tear everything up?
Oh, they just tear everything up.
Fuck those birds, man. Fuck those birds.
Apparently, somebody put up a huge sign somewhere, and a bunch of bored cockatoos came around and just tore the shit down out of it.
The birds is flying around like, you want to put a sign up, huh, bitch? Watch this. Hey, boys. Come around there and tear that shit right up. Cockatoo, motherfucker. What it says.
Yeah.
You ever... Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say the other one's magpies. People get annoyed about them.
Mm-hmm. Now, we have fucking magpies, and fuck those birds.
They're smart birds, though.
They are, but fuck them. Right in their little magpie ass.
You
can tell them I said so.
Yep. They, what was it there? Somebody worked out that how you can befriend them. And they're kind of like crows.
Yeah, crows are smart, though. Ravens are smarter.
Yeah. And so I can't remember. There's some people that worked out how to befriend magpies. And, they'll bring them, they'll bring the people in the house trinkets. And they'll warn other magpies away if you're nearby.
That's crazy.
Dude, you can't even own a magpie or a raven here. It's against the law because people trained them
to steal money,
to steal wallets and money out of people's hands.
I know a couple in, I think was it Queensland, got into trouble because they nurtured a magpie. Because you're not allowed to keep them either.
Right.
Actually kind of a weird story that when my dad passed away, because my mother, I don't know, she likes feeding the birds and tries to get as many birds around the area. So for someone like in the front yard of my parents' house, it's full of magpies. And they're normally just flying around. And when my dad passed away, they were all kind of like lined up around the street, and it was kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
So like either the birds missed out on their feeding and they're just waiting there, or they knew something happened.
They're like, wait a minute, where is he?
I mean, I'm more likely to believe the people we love when they pass, they can do things to make us go, okay, now what was that all about? And it's easy for us to just dismiss because, That's what they teach
Yeah,
in
we're
society.
trained that way. We've been brainwashed.
Yeah. Don't believe in anything
Don't believe your senses,
other
your
than
lying
what we
eyes.
tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the biggest conception right there, or misconception. Okay. Real quick. Explain why you think science and religion need to be hand to hand and not constantly this left or right finite thing. Either it's this or that. Why is it a separation?
The separation really started coming around the 19th and 20th century. And I think it was just, I can't exactly work out why. During that time, there was also another science that was coming up that was quite controversial, and you might have heard of it, eugenics.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the problems that we have nowadays with science seems to stem around that region. Now, eugenics was really pushed by a lot of people call them social Darwinists, but they weren't really. So you had it came about because there was this weird confluence of, you had evolution coming up, statistics coming up. The world could be seen as a reducible clock. Right? So this idea that everything was mechanistic and could be determined by using Newton's laws of motion, sort of thing, right? Like very finite, very mechanistic. And so there was no need for the theological foundations of science, based, since it'd been there. And so that there's been this real push to, within intellectual circles, to then push that philosophy, that theology that it was sitting on, away. But also because of eugenics, because eugenics is its own, there's this saying that a human is a religious animal, and it doesn't matter what your religion is. Even if you say you have no religion, you will automatically default to one. Right? Even if you're an atheist and say, I have no religion, you have a religion. You just don't know it. Right?
So are you saying like these are secret societies, secret science societies, and religious societies that have implemented certain rules? Or
No.
Okay.
I would say it's more like a confluence of events. You have the idea that if everything is reducible mechanistically, and you have, the idea that, hey, we can, if we can reduce everything mechanistically, and we have no space for God in terms of how man was created, and we have no space for the spiritual, because everything can be defined in plain material ways, right? And then you add in that we can describe everything through purely mechanical processes. There's no room. It leaves very little room for some sort of spiritual side to it. And then you have this movement of eugenics. Now, eugenics is weirdly not a new idea. Weirdly enough, it's described in Plato's Republic. And the Greeks, and that includes the Spartans as well, used to practice some form of eugenics. They would take the kids out who seemed weakly and they would put them out to die, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea of eugenics is not exactly new. What happened is that once things became unshackled from the separation between church and state, if you want to call it, right, began to accelerate, particularly in Europe. The eugenics movement came in and said, hey, we can build a better man, right? And they started doing a lot of things that we now associate with what's wrong with science. Like they would create journals that they could publish articles in. They would collect lots of data, but they would keep it hidden. they would do now what we would call p hacking, the statistical p hacking. So they would over exaggerate the capabilities of a sample. They would ignore data that was contradictory. And it wasn't just a one-off thing. It was a movement started in the late 1800s that led up all the way till the 1940s.
So what's what's the agenda behind it, you think? To dumb down the masses, to not accept that there are these things that exist? Is like what's the agenda behind it, you think?
The agenda was just basically you can see it from a couple of viewpoints. One viewpoint were the true believers who truly believed that what they were doing was the correct thing by saying, hey, we can make man better by making these things.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have a system entrenched that encourages that, the people who then start taking over. So let's say you have academia, right? And you have very few eugenicists in academia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because of the amount of money going in, because true believers and some other things that happen, people start funding research into eugenics. More of those eugenics people now take over academia, which then promote more eugenics people into these sort of positions. So it's kind of like this virtuous feedback cycle,
right?
Where the few select themselves to be then the new masters of whatever this is, right? And it happened recently with Alzheimer's research. So Alzheimer's research has been blown apart because apparently the beta amyloid theory that was dominant for the last 30 or 40 years has been proven to be, shown to be a fraud. The guy who came up with the theory falsified his data.
Oh,
right.
How much of that shit's going around?
Yeah. But because his theory was so prevalent, particularly the early parts, a lot of the people coming up through the Alzheimer's research had to accept either they were doing beta amyloid research, or they were, or they were doing adjunct research into beta amyloid theory because that was the only way they could get funding.
Right.
That's where the money was.
Right.
And so that leads to that cycle. And so anybody who's doing research outside of that eventually got booted off. Right. So it's this kind of silent and closing because of feedback loops that immediately segregates and entrenches a position, which is not, and that can happen through, like things like it's the favorite theory of the day to, hey, people really do believe in it, and they put a lot of money into that. So with eugenics, because there was a lot of people into it, they just poured a heck of a lot of money into it, and a lot of them were like absolute racists, supremacists, and atheists.
But why does this sound surprisingly like the Vatican? Do you not see a comparison there?
Read what Warheart Arch just said, Ayer. But yeah, I agree.
But like, doesn't the Vatican pay and do all this shit to keep its agenda going? And it I don't know, man. It just goes hand in hand with politics, like we were saying earlier.
Yeah, so the core belief in eugenics is that regression to the mean is that if everybody would mix with everybody, then the outcome will be that the whole of humanity ends up being dumber. Right? Again, it's based on the idea that back in Plato's Republic, that certain people belong in certain classes. Right? So you breed philosophers from philosophers and make sure that they're philosopher stock. Right? I mean, somebody once said that the Dominion in Star Trek, like Star Trek Deep Space Nine's Dominion, is the perfect representation of Plato's Republic. Right, so if you ever watch that series, it has the Jem'Hadar, then you have the water, and then you have the leaders of them, right? The Jem'Hadar are the fighters, the warriors, right?
Right.
And then you have the water, which are the ambassadors, like the semi-intellectual class, and then you have the leaders, which actually govern the entire system, and that's what Plato's Republic was about.
Okay, I'm following you.
So, and they wanted to do the same thing. But the thing is that we know that there's a lot of in eugenics that was falsified. And we know that there was a lot of things that they spoke about were utterly incorrect because, you know, if we know anything about history and genetic history, that the Habsburgs should have been the most smart class of people that ever lived on the planet, right? But they're not. They were one of the most deformed noble lines of nobility in European history. 20% of their genetic makeup was clones of each other. Like seriously, like 20%, like uncle to nephew, they were 20% similar, like genetic clones.
Jeez. That's amazing. But yet we see it everywhere though.
Yeah. So
it's like this pockets of this shit in everything.
So Plant a Seed Every Day says, imagine a species that has tempered about so much that they're kind of effed up. So by hijacking of others and mixing other races up to a point we developed so greatly, it made the effed up species look godly.
Interesting.
That is interesting. But I mean, I can't help and welcome in, Carl. And I know you have a joke for later, but I can't help but to think that secret societies have taken the science agenda,
like Masons,
Scientology. You know, they've taken the science and somehow drew this line between that and spirituality.
No doubt.
And it's now force fed that. I mean, let's like when you speak of academia, let's look at just the average human being growing up in schools. And Kresge used to be a teacher, an educator. It doesn't behoove society to know these things, right? Like from the construct that we live in, why am I going to teach kids about things of spiritual form? And there's definitely some things that we know to be fact about spirituality. And there's definitely some things we know to be fact about how science is conducted.
Well, science, they say they got factual with the science, but spirituality or religion, that's still faith-based, and that's just to the prescriber.
Right. And that's what I mean.
And there's no factual, I can put it on paper that this is a mathematical reality.
And that's what they're teaching us.
I'll throw in a curveball here at you.
Okay.
Science is faith. Again, it has to make assumptions that are non-provable.
Right, in order to prove it.
In order to work.
Right. Like, but they show things in science that we would readily believe. Like we've come up with the equation to this, and this is actually called nitrogen. You can't see it. You know, it's a gas and its properties. You know what I mean? Like they actually have things that are tangible to fact to where the human can actually see it and prescribe to it. Now with religion and spirituality, it's a faith base. It's just words from the other person, kind of like just you're going on faith with it all. Jesus died for our sins on the cross. Although you weren't there, it's in books. They're telling you about it. It's a faith that you're going to believe it. There's no tangible pudding there that can be tasted, for lack of a better analogy. And I think that's where he was getting at with the whole thing of we chose to teach ourselves this to.
Well, we didn't choose. Most of us didn't choose.
No, we didn't choose. Right. But as a collective whole, this is what we've continued to do.
Right.
So it's just one of those things that you're going to have to wake up and get out of the box and find some personal belief in faith. You don't have to, but in something that holds such great conviction with you, like we were saying earlier, where you know you feel it and no one can tell you otherwise.
Like, is there a standing ground you have, Ayer, that
Says that is
if someone approached you and said, okay, now show me something like, just make me visualize why we need both to work hand in hand. Like, how could you paint that picture?
It's very hard to do that nowadays. Right? Like, there's this TV show called Connections. And the reason why I'll bring that up, it's made by this British dude, Jonathan Burke. People tend to think of science as this general one-way street of things, like person X discovered Y, and causal chain of events, right? That show kind of undoes all of that, and it kind of shows how people were connected with each other to talk about different concepts, and how some people had more than one knowledge, had expertise in more than one field, right? To then communicate complex ideas, or the way they ripped ideas from. Somebody might have been they could have worked in a milling factory, and then they used the milling analogy to then work out a way on how to come up with a new theory or come up with a new tech to solve a specific problem, right? So it wasn't just out of the blue thinking kind of thing. So the first part is that the way that we teach science history or science in general, is like, oh, Newton discovered this and this person discovered that. And it's like, it makes them seem like they're much more isolated events rather than the interconnected network that it really actually is. Right?
right.
And so this, going back to your point, is basically you need to come up with really novel ideas. You need, one, a network of people who are solving the problem where the ideas flow, right? Two, and you need someone who has a broad range of experiences and not necessarily just in their narrow field of view.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
It has to be a bias had to be tossed out the window. Yep.
Yeah.
Which most of us are taught this way, Ayer.
Yes. One direction.
It's a reason why people don't want to come out of certain linear boxes. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah. So yeah, like you need a broad range of experiences, a broad range of things. Now, in terms of bringing back science back to its kind of like original faith points, right? It's not going to happen. You kind of just have to bring it up, right? You have to bring up the history of it, right? This is why we do things. You're never going to bring that back. Okay. But you can kind of teach it, like say, hey, this is why, this is the philosophy behind it. This is why it's not provable, right? Like the method itself is not provable, but that doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't yield bad results, right? People mistake theory and a thesis, hypothesis, for example, like a simple between the two. And they don't they don't teach concordance either, like how science is harmonized within itself, right? Harmonized is not the right word, but like it kind of makes sense within each other. So for example, right, the theory of radio emissions, right? Radio frequencies is the same as light. It's the same as heat, right? They're all kind of the same
properties.
Sits within the same electromagnetic spectrum. Right? They obey the same laws. The difference is that their frequency, how they react, how they interact with materials. So, for example, if you were talking about, bog standard radio waves, right? Like, below 1 gigahertz, right? Or below 5 gigahertz. You can use an antenna, and what we would normally call an antenna, right? Connected to a cable, the signal will go down the antenna, the cable connected to the antenna, and then emit from there. But once you start getting it to 5 gigahertz or higher, you can't the material interaction is no longer predictable. And so the people have to do what they call waveguides. They literally build little pathways where the waveform is guided across the material. It doesn't get conducted, it's guided across the material. Because otherwise you can't, it ceases to be it ceases to be conductive. Like it ends up going around the the transmitter and that sort of thing, and it doesn't behave properly. But all of those things make sense from a material science point of view. They make sense from a electromagnetic theory point of view. They make sense from a power point of view, right? And then they can all be understood in such a way that you can start building engineering solutions out of them to then engineer an actual thing, right? But in general, go on.
So would that be the same as trying to quantify synchronicity and coincidences?
That's a loaded question. I don't know. I'll have to say I don't know. Because some people would say, hey, that it's just all coincidence. I would say no. Sometimes I think that there's a reason why, not necessarily a reason why things happen, but they're related, if that makes sense. Like,
but and that also goes true with if you believe that, and I'm 100% with you, then everybody has to agree. You don't have to. I like to just say that karma is this. It's this force.
It's the pushback.
It's this some sort of force, some sort of disturbance that if you push it, like you said, it pushes back. It rebounds, and it rebounds off of purpose, intention, and whatever our projections are. Like karma, you've seen that work in front of you to the kid that's playing out in the street,
and you've had a perspective on it. Yeah, that perspective may have been a negative reaction that you may have wanted to see, but
is it the same?
Doesn't base itself off of your perception. It is just a thing that could be looked at as consciousness, alive and well.
And what I'm saying is it the same too as like radio waves, heat waves? Does it reside in this same frequency?
Quantum field, yeah.
Like it's like a radio wave, but we know it to be something other. We've seen it work firsthand. You keep telling little Joey don't play in the street. You're going to get hit by a car one day. Little Joey doesn't listen. He gets hit by a car one day. Is that by chance? Is it by his repetition of doing something that the inevitable statistical fact is
probability
he's going to get hit by a car, or is it actually karma coming around?
Yeah.
Well, you can see it as both.
Yeah.
Because there is a statistical probability that he will get hit by a car, right?
Right.
You can't deny. Like if somebody's playing on a busy street and you say, hey, if you don't pay attention, you will get hit by a car. Right? It's statistically likely that they will. It's statistically unlikely that they won't.
Right.
And it'd be more, you can kind of make it say, hey, it would be a statistical miracle if he played there in the middle of the busiest time and he never got hit at all for 10 years of his life, right?
Right, exactly.
Statistically, it can happen.
Right. But when you look at the etymology of words, Ayer, if you look just at the etymology, all right, it goes deeper. Why do we say synchronicity? Why do we say coincidence? Why do we say karma? Why is there a belief behind that there's something greater than us?
That's a big question. I don't expect you to fucking even come.
Only
you
have to have an idea.
Yeah,
you've had an idea so far.
That's a big question, though.
So it can happen in multiple ways. So we're programmed to find patterns and find meaning in patterns. And I say programmed, I don't mean like as like someone's come in and programmed our heads. Like, people like assigning things, just like when somebody assigns, people look at clouds, right? For example, and they say, oh, that looks like an elephant. That looks like that, right? It's like that Rorschach test. But we try to find meaning in things. Now, that's to say that there isn't any,
Right.
but because we're these pattern sensing entities in a way, we try to, when something happens, we try to justify or assign a meaning to it when there may not necessarily be any.
Right. Just be okay with it.
Just that's pretty much it, right?
Right.
This is why like Occam's razor came about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, weirdly enough, the question that you're asking is really the origin of Occam's razor. Do not multiply variables, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
People in medieval times would go, the tree got struck by lightning. God was angry with me because I sold a sheep.
Right.
Right. And Occam would say, no, the lightning struck the tree because the lightning struck the tree.
That's what lightning does.
That's what lightning does.
Yeah.
Right. So the thing here is that you try not to multiply the amount of variables involved to solve a problem.
Right.
Because by definition, we want to add more variables to solve a problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
but Ayer, where are you finding the spirituality then? Where do you suggest one looks? Because you're a believer of both.
And on top of that question, would you have this spirituality if you knew nothing of religion? What does that look like? Like, because we're getting these things from ourselves, other people, but what does it look like outside of that?
Yeah, Cressy's saying we just want to understand. Donald Duck is saying because people love the unknown.
Right.
That's a hard one. Because
Like,
I'd say it's partly experiential.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So for me, it was a very long process. Like, I did not. So when I grew up, because my dad was, he was more of a deist than an atheist. But he said I wasn't, but he kind of pushed me in this very atheistic direction.
Mm-hmm.
So for a long time, I was like, kind of driven by that. Now, I think for some, it might be, it's cultural, right? That they got raised that way, therefore they justify everything within that context.
Mm-hmm.
For some, particularly for me, it's experiential, right? I know it happened. I personally experienced it. I am not going to go and try to push that onto people.
Right.
Right.
Like, you can't explain it. You can't define it. You can't contextualize it. It's a purely personal experience.
And it happened. And that's what I love about an experience like what you said. You don't discover this by someone else's words or the book or anything. I think the important way for someone to discover something is through their own personal experience.
But shouldn't there be a way you should be able to protect yourself in the things you say? And shouldn't you want to share
but not push,
profound
right?
experience without being secluded or the mind venturing off to scrutiny about what you're saying? For lack of better words, like that, I just want to understand from your point of view the spiritual side of it and why you believe that there is that. But I get why you believe science has to be incorporated with it.
So part of it is experiential.
That's what I'm saying. It's the part of his experience.
Right, so part of it is experiential. The other part of it is you can rationalize in a way, get yourself into a position, right? And it just depends.
I do that a lot.
Yeah, and you have to kind of interrogate your own axioms and those assumptions that you make about what you fundamentally assume to be true, right? And then go through that process of like, hey, I'm assuming this, therefore this, right? Or you go through a process, like you spend a lot of time trying to understand things like history, science, and come to your own conclusions. But for me, it's mostly being pushed through an experiential side. And you can say it was a post ad hoc justification to then go look for the rationality behind it, right?
Right.
Yeah, I can accept that.
Yeah.
But even if I didn't have the same starting motivation, I will say that, like, if I didn't have the same starting motivation, if I went through the same process, would I have ended up in the same position? Maybe not, but I still would have probably ended up with similar conclusions, if that makes sense, right? Like, so something nudges you in a certain direction, you go through it, you interrogate what you know, and you investigate what's there, and you spend a lot of time reading crazy things like mathematics, for example, right? which is this whole kettle of fish.
And I hate math, and I use that firmly. I can't stand fucking math.
It's because you don't know what maths is.
Aaron, listen to me. I just don't have.
I know it's a language.
I know it's a beautiful thing, but my mind, okay, everything about me is just so like, that's good and all, but man, can you put a fucking horseshoe on a horse? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just not my forte.
Let me say this. Maths is the only thing you actually can make truth statements with.
As far as Earth standards, I would agree.
No. It's the only thing. If you were to die, if you were to die, and you're standing there going, okay, what do I know to be true? The only thing you could say that you know to be true is maths.
My wife would 100% agree with you.
Right? Like, that's how strong, like, out of all the sciences, out of everything that is out there, maths is the only one that gives you certain knowledge. You will know.
I agree
that it's true.
I agree. I just don't like it. So are you saying that out of this vast universe, this vast entire universe, would you say that math is that universal language? Probably,
yeah. I would say, yeah. I mean, I feel comfortable making that statement. It's not like, it's the language, but it's not the descriptor, I guess, if that would make sense. Like, you can't describe the universe like English, right?
Right.
I can tell you a sentence, and there might be the intent of the information that I was trying to convey, how you pick it up, right? What you pick up from what I've said, what you interpret of what I said, and there might be two different understandings between the same sentence that I've said. Like, for example, so maths would be kind of the same thing. It's the language, but it imprecisely describes the universe, if that makes sense.
Right. But yeah.
Okay. So here's what, and Banana Rider is kind of drawing some interesting facts here. I like them, or points, not facts. No number is exactly the same for someone else. Where you are, when you are, what you are at any given point makes the record change. And is it relative? Is math relative to every person?
You see, this is why I ask these questions. I just want to get people's opinion. There's this there's an indigenous tribe out in South America, and the only thing they know is the land, its properties, how to survive for the day, and then continue tomorrow. Now they look up and they see a plane, but chances are no one's in there teaching them two plus two is, 4, this and this and that. They're going their day to day based on their perception.
Mm.
I'm not saying, yes, we have knowledge, right? And just because they're ignorant to it doesn't mean that knowledge doesn't exist. I'm going deeper with that. I'm just wanting to know if we may have that knowledge, but if they don't really so much know about it or need it, and they pass on, how much of that math was so representative of their life and their soul being, of not even being an equation? Because what they can quantify was family, love, and just the survival modes of the physical life.
Yeah, like I again, I'm not going to disagree, because I think if they've never experienced that language, maybe they have no need. But this gets back to what I was trying to say before. Maths is not an equation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's not the one all. Yeah, right.
It's not one all equation.
Mm-hmm.
To give you a really mind blowing thing,
mm-hmm.
your computer is doing maths right now.
Right, mm-hmm. Right, 100%.
Because fundamentally, a computer, like when Alan Turing came up with the Turing machine, which is what computers are computer models are based off.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't solving a computing problem. He was solving a maths problem. Right? Maths is a language that it's a set of it's like problem solving. It's an overglorified abstract problem solving thing. You have a problem, and if you can abstract it in a way with symbols, you've converted it into maths. So any problem that you can take and symbolize it in an abstract space, that's maths. The equation itself is what's known as computation. Like, that's the different step. So a computer does computation. It takes maths equations, in which case computer programs, because they're math equations, right? And they compute that. And that's the result that you get on your screen, when you're playing video games, when you're running your spreadsheets. Everything that the computer is doing, all of the programs that are running are all maths, right? Because they follow from a basic rule of, I have a symbol and I need to manipulate a symbol to do a certain thing. That's what fundamentally maths is. It's symbol manipulation.
Yeah.
Right. Now, in terms of numbers, we have a concept of numbers, and there's lots of different types of numbers. The fact that there's at least 2 different types of infinities is kind of mind-blowing, and the fact that we also know that that one infinity is larger than the other.
Which that's mind blowing.
Okay, I heard about this. I heard that
it sounds so for sure, dude. And we just talked about how science is so for sure and people are so for sure.
Right.
How can we be sure of that?
Yeah. I don't think. And then the other thing I heard about the whole infinity concept. Like, and even infinity is finite. There's another infinity beyond that. I'm like, well, okay, so now the vernacular now doesn't hold any substance. Now we need to come up with a term for what's like the true infinite. You know what I mean?
So like, they don't call it finite, they call it what do they call it? Countable and uncountable, or deterministic versus undeterministic, non-deterministic. It's mostly countable and uncountability. And the proof of that is really simple. Imagine you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? And this is what I mean by maths, right? So if you have whole numbers, 0 to infinity, right? If I were to take the even numbers out of that list, right, can I make that infinity equal the other infinity? Intuitively, you would say no, because like it would be half of the other one. But it turns out that if you can pair them, like I say, I can pair 1 with 2, 3 with 4, or maybe 3 with 6. If I can pair the numbers in a way, then they're both equal, because the function that is doing the pairing will always find another matching number to pair with, and therefore they will always be the same size. Do you see the argument?
I see the argument, but I'm like, if it's an infinite, like I'm just going to say the number is infinite. Okay, so we know that it's going to continuously, it's infinite. But then you want to bring another infinite equation and say, okay, so we compare it with another infinite string of infinite numbers. But if they keep constantly going on, they're making it seem like there's this circle of the finite, right? When you can, in my mind, you can only have one thing that is infinite, right? It's infinite. You can't go beyond it. It's ever long, everlasting.
But now we're talking, I think, more of like
I just it hurts my mind.
So to me, it just sounds like a different paradigm.
Right.
It is.
Right.
Right. It is. It's just that we're talking about, like, we tend to think of it, infinities as this large mass that encompasses all sorts of things. Right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. No borders.
No borders kind of thing, right? Like, and that can be true. You can imagine infinity, right, like that. But what we're saying is that within infinity, there's different classes of infinities, right? And you can imagine infinity being this large, unbounded space. And then you go, okay, but we also have natural numbers, and that's a smaller infinity. It's still infinity because the function will never stop.
Right.
Right. That pairing function, like you correctly said, will never stop.
Right.
That's what makes it infinite, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can have a larger infinity. If you say,
but Air, where are we again, my math is not good, but where are we extrapolating that from? How are we able to reconstruct something that of an infinite property? Like like my brother says, are we talking like a different, like universe on top of universe on top of?
I'm shaking. I'm doing hand gestures.
Is it parallel? Like, is it parallel? Is it stacked like pancakes here?
Think of it as sets. You know, set theory.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't. Have no clue.
So think of it as stacked plates.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So you have a big stack. You have a big plate at the bottom, and inside another plate, like mamushka dolls. Like you have a tape plate, and each plate gets smaller and smaller and smaller on the top. All those plates stacked on top of each other are all infinities, right? Except that as you go up the plate stack, the infinity relative to the other infinity gets smaller, or it's a smaller class of infinities. Right, so we go from, hey, we've got computable infinity, finite, not finite, but countable infinities, and then we've got uncountable infinities, and both of them consist of the same set of infinite space.
So it's this polaric infinity. Okay, so now you're saying that we have the Jesus Christ. You're hurting my mind, but I get what you're saying.
I can visualize it, right? I can visualize exactly what you're saying.
We have an infinite. I'm going to put it like this from my laymanistic place. You have an infinite amount of love and you have an infinite amount of hate, but yet they both can have these infinite amount of stuff or numbers or however you want to say about them. One pulls from this side and one pulls from that side. But then we can say that about a lot of different things. Then
it's just things occupying the same space at the same time is what worries me. But if it's multi-layered, oh my God.
So Michio Kaku does this experiment, and he's on the line of parallel universes. They sit on top of each other. And a black hole is the garbage disposal of each universe, and it leads down to the next universe, right? And so you have these infinite parallel universes, and that's what the universe is. It's just copying itself an infinite amount of times, but it's everywhere. The time is like now. It's in everything. It's everywhere. Every given second. So I go up to a street. I turned left, but in one reality, I turned right. I went straight. I went diagonal. I went this, and we're just running these infinite possibilities at the same time. And the reality where we are in now, we can only hold ourselves to one to experience one. But goes further and says, well, we're actually in all those at the same time, but we choose to be in one. If you can come outside of this reality and go into the other universe, you're pretty much doing the same thing, but you're not giving the situation.
Right.
So everything that we think of and all the chances of shit that we've done, he says exist, and we're still running parallel with those universes. So, I mean, is that a possibility then? I mean, an infinite universe that runs infinite cycles of decisions and thought processes, and I'm just posting that now because you guys got my mind thinking.
I don't know, but I'm a bit skeptical of that one. Partly because I don't like, even though I don't mind the idea of infinities in mathematics, because we're talking about numbers, right? And the number of numbers between 1 and 2 is infinite, right? You can have an infinite numbers between 1 and 2. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, uncountable numbers is far bigger than countables.
Right. But
so to go back to the Michio Kaku thing, the only reason why I push back on that one is fundamentally from a scientific point of view, is that it's not testable.
Right.
I can't test it. So
And it's not science if you can't recreate it.
That's right.
Yes.
So I used to love astronomy. It's just a personal thing. I used to love and still do like astronomy. I like looking at the telescope, and I like it a lot. And I actually wanted to do an astronomy originally. But a lot of the things that they say and a lot of the things that they talk about is not testable. Right? It's completely untestable. So, for example, star formation, it makes it sound really easy. Oh, the gas just collapses on itself and then it
right. Gravity brings,
density. Yeah.
The problem is once you know a little bit more about entropy, how thermodynamic works, it becomes a real big problem because gases on Earth and everywhere else don't just collapse on themselves.
But is that because
where does this negative entropy come from that
Right.
pushes the star into that formation?
But
and nobody can answer that.
But isn't it because the star is in a different property like the universe? It's in this vacuum, right? So gravity exists.
Yeah, but if you put a gas in a vacuum, it seeks to fill the space. So gases tend to spread out because they have no stochastic motion, and so they move in all directions at the same time. So that's why if you're in space and your spaceship decides to have a leak, right, the gas escapes because it's going from a high entropy state to a low entropy state, and so therefore it must go out.
So how does Jupiter form?
That's right.
Damn. So could we say that dark matter is a property then, since we know little about it and it's like 99.9% of the fucking shit in space? Like, is that a contributing factor of why gas is able to contain itself in space?
Dark matter is another one that I have a problem with because I can't test it.
No one can. But these are the wild theories that we have.
Have you ever heard of Terrence Howard's theories?
Yes and no.
Okay, because you're spot on with Terrence Howard's theories. This is why they're pushing back on Terrence Howard, because he's challenging what the normal models are. Like they've dotted the I's and crossed the T's on what the normal model is as far as how solar systems are made. And you're saying the exact opposite.
Yeah, no, it's so for example, me and a friend once went looking, we had the exact same discussion, like how the hell do stars form? And I went like, it can't be this way because entropy, unless you in feeding in a negative entropy, this shit doesn't happen. Like you don't go from a higher. You don't go to a higher state without energy, which means negative entropy in this case. And so we looked at it, and he found a paper where they did simulations that, hey, look, this is how the earliest star formed. And apparently he went looking for it, and he found the source code for it.
Mm-hmm.
And what he found is that they seeded the values. Right? And what I mean by that is that they literally put in the state so that the theory could occur.
To fit their idea.
Yeah. So the model confirms their theory because the model is the theory, and the model's been seeded in such a way that allows the thing to occur.
Well,
so the model is useless.
Well, shit. So let me ask you this then, real quick. I have to ask you this because I'm right here with you, my guy. The way you explain things. I wish you were one of my fucking teachers, but you're not, and we're not there. Fuck there.
That means there's a problem with math.
Hold up. There's a problem with. Okay. So what do you think about planets, stars, solar systems, galaxies? Is everything just falling? And if so, that doesn't make sense because how are some things that are supposed to be more mass not falling harder, or some are falling faster and slower? Are we in this universe, this fabric of space? What are we floating on? Are we floating? Are we falling? How are we moving? I get the galaxies in this gravitational pull.
If gravity exists.
If that's a thing, and then
or gravity is probably just mass.
But okay, but what I'm asking is, what do you think about space in its entirety? Is it just this empty void and we're all falling? And how come I'm thinking of it as if you look at a bunch of bubbles in water and you see everything moving around like this primordial soup of shit? Is the water the dark matter that keeps things buoyant and keep us at the plane of our solar system where we're all trapped in this gravitational lock, right? So give me your best opinion on that.
I don't know how much time you got, so let us know when the kids wake up.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on that.
Yeah.
I'll let you know because if they wake up, I'll probably have to drop off. I'll say goodbye. So. Cresshead's correct. We don't understand gravity. Mm-hmm. We really don't. We don't even know where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain theories that say, hey, gravity is actually an emergent phenomenon of electromagnetism.
Mm-hmm.
There's all sorts of interesting explanations in regards to how all of this works that are not necessarily mainstream. One of them is called the electromagnetic theory of the universe, where they describe gravity in terms of electromagnetism and the interaction between galaxies and planets as electromagnetic circuits. Right. So you can just reduce planets and solar systems in terms of electronic circuits, so resistors, capacitors, and that sort of thing, and the electron flow, underlying flow of energy, electrical energy going through this system is what generates these patterns. It's pretty interesting. I don't know how much of it's true. There's some other ones out there that, again, describe certain theory, these things in different ways. The reason why a lot of people believe like what you just said, like, hey, we've got dark matter and all this other stuff, is because our equations are not necessarily complete. Our understanding is incomplete. And it fundamentally stems down to one thing. You have a person sitting on planet Earth looking at a telescope, looking at a far distant object and trying to guess what is going on there.
Yes, yes.
Right? And the best he can come up with is some conjecture. Right? Now that conjecture becomes then science, right? Because I can't call it science because it's just, you can't test it, right? And it kind of takes on its own field of a life of its own. People build myths. They build myths around that conjecture, right? Actually, we do kind of know that. It's because the heat is related to the speed of the particle, and it's not actually the heat.
He's addressing Cresshead for those of you who aren't watching.
So if you think of heat as the kinetic movement of a particle, then the sun's corona will be hotter because it's moving faster, not because it's actually hot.
Because it's generating more friction and gravity. Like I don't.
No, it's going. The speed there is so much faster than everywhere else.
Okay.
Therefore, speed relates to higher energy, therefore higher heat.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. The core is always yep. More friction. So, do you think people at CERN are on the right path with this hadron collider? Do you think
we're going to understand?
You think the possibility of
black holes,
smashing atoms together is?
I don't know. I'm kind of two minds in that. In some ways, I find that the standard model has been useful, but I think there's some trickery and p hacking going on because I don't know. Because we're kind of reaching this weird point where detecting something as, hey, we've detected X, right? And either they don't find it, which is okay, but then they go, oh, we didn't hit the energy targets, therefore we have to build a bigger machine to hit the energy target.
Right.
So this kind of goes, okay, but you didn't hit it at the predicted level, so now you're predicting a higher level. Did you correct the theory for the level? So you have to ask that question, right?
Yeah, come away with it. So you couldn't come up with your own shit with this smaller scale. Like if you're running everything to standard, you should come up with some sort of
who's to say they didn't
data point. We'll never know.
Okay,
and I would hate to go down that rabbit hole right now, but really quickly,
hang on. I got to ask my question. You asked yours.
Oh God damn it!
Before the kids wake up,
hurry!
Is there an error in our mathematical construct? Have we based our math off an error? We've ignored the error and we continued on with the construct. We didn't look back, and now we don't want to look back.
It's not that maths has an error. And then let me give you two big black holes in mathematics, which people tend to ignore. Mathematics is incomplete and inconsistent. It is incomplete because you can't use it to prove itself, and it's inconsistent because I can construct a mathematical statement saying that this sentence is false, which is a contradiction.
God damn, Terrence Howard might be onto something.
He might be.
And I think somebody here in the chat mentioned Bertrand Russell and the Infinite Hotel. And I think, was it Kurt Gödel was the one who blew Bertrand Russell's consistent mathematics out the window. So in mathematics, there's this concept of recursion, right, where something can feed into it. You know, like you have a function feeding itself into another function, feeding itself to itself, continue onwards.
Right.
To make anything useful in mathematics, you have to involve some form of symbol manipulation and some form of recursion. But as soon as you introduce recursion into the idea,
it doesn't work.
No, it does work. But the problem is you end up with inconsistency and unprovability.
So there, man.
So what it basically means is that there are truths which cannot be proven.
Right. So that's
by any logical definition, because maths is fundamentally logic, right? And the logic is telling you that there are proofs, there are statements of truth which cannot be proven, right? You cannot prove them whatsoever.
He might be confused. 1 × 1 = 2? ? But it's never the exact number from my understanding, Ayer or Bicky. Like there's always some decimal or some fraction of what it equates to. It's never spot on. That's what some mathematicians suggest. It's never as solid as a number or as whole as a number you may think it is. Is that true?
So in terms of modeling a system, yeah, that's always true because you can't account for all sorts of things. So in electronics, we normally talk about you have a resistor, and it might be 8 ohms, but it always has a plus or minus at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why it has a plus or minus at the end of it is because when you manufacture that, there are tolerances involved. You're not going to get it exact. So you might get 8.01 or 7.8, right?
Right.
So you're not going to get exact numbers for anything. Any real system will never have you're going to get it exactly at 3 megahertz. No, it's going to drift below and it's going to drift above because there's all sorts of effects happening, interacting in that system. You're never going to get an exact number. But statistically, it'll be close enough for us to work with. So, for example, my wife does NMRs, which are like you put a sample in, you're looking for a specific signal. The signal will never hit the exact same. The signal will never be on the exact same spot, right? But it'll always be around that number a certain amount because things affect it. Heat, the heat of the item at test, the heat of the sensor, the heat of the room, like the quality of the substrate, the quality of what they call it, the standard. I think that's what they call it, the standard. So all of these things affect each other, and so you can't ever get an exact number for something, even though the equation might say this would be it. But you, as an engineer, don't care about the exactness because you know, as an engineer, that it'll never be exact.
Right. So that just goes back to the question he just asked. Was our math based on
false? It's based on an error.
It wasn't based on fact, like 100% fact.
Right. Because and before we go, I'm just trying to get ahead of these kids here. Can math speak for spirituality or non-corporeal things?
Georg Cantor went insane trying to answer that question. He was the one who discovered that infinities thing I spoke about earlier. He was he was deeply motivated. I mean, a lot of mathematicians see, like, there are two types in general. You can kind of divide them into two types: Platonic and Neoplatonic mathematicians and Aristotelian mathematicians. So Platonists think that maths represents some underlying structure in the universe. Aristotelian mathematics believe that it's just a tool being used by math. It's an expression of human thought, right? It's pure human endeavor. Like, there's nothing there. And there's a cross between the two. But in general terms, the best maths is just you can't necessarily use it to prove a spiritual thing, right?
As far as we know.
Yeah. But it leaves a lot of room for it. Because in its own self, you can find a lot of interesting things in it. There are patterns, there are things which some people describe as being spiritual in its own right.
Right.
Like, I'm not in that, but I know certain people have experienced that in their own way. Like, they find patterns and they find that like that is the substrate of the universe, and they describe it in those vivid terms, like that is God in a way, right? But I don't see myself having that experience, but some have.
Right.
Jeez.
Yeah. And then Cressy's going on about him and I are twins. We're identical. We're the same. But there's a degree of us that is not the same. And I think it's more like quantum physics too, right? Like, if I'm one particle and he's another particle and we're entangled and he's all the way on the other side of the universe, and he raises his hand, his left hand, for an outcome, and all of a sudden, for no thought process of my own, I raise my left hand for an outcome. is it still not the same down to the you know, like the quantum structure of being entangled? Is it, even though one may be larger of a particle than the other, but they're still doing the same action so far apart, is it still not the same? Am I not explaining that right?
I get what you're saying. To me, that just falls back on the, and this is just me, it just falls back on this conscious web. You can call the subatomic particles, you can call, like even our atoms right now and everything about us, if you look at us on in a microscope, nothing is really touching each other, right? I mean, if you look at the dermis, the subdermis, the fatty tissues, they all have this
Separation.
cellular structure about them where
Right.
nothing's really ever touching each other. So, and if you're entangled to the universe or this conscious web, because we come from the universe, everything about us,
Right.
the milkshakes we drink, I would say we're all entangled. It's all one. You and I being the same
But
cell.
you have this one being representing,
Right. But you and I being the same cell and we split, right? And we become two different physical entities. It's still to me, it's still the same thing. It just multiplied itself, but we're
Okay,
still,
yeah, I got you.
we're still
I got
the same thing.
Yeah, that was a bit longer way around it. Yeah, but I got you now. Yeah. I mean, but so if we're twins and Cressy's looking at it like that, then you can't really just say it's because we're twins. Then it would have to be we're all in it together.
Right. There's
twins has no
there's no
identifiable
separation.
source
I don't think there's a separation.
other than, you know, one atom splitting or one cell splitting into two.
Are we not okay? Let me ask you guys this: when we eat ice cream, what happens to the ice cream inside our bodies on a microscopic level?
Well, it melts.
It melts, but on a microscopic level, what does it look like? It
No.
it integrates with our body, right? There's no difference. It's all universal soup, right? Everything that we know, touch, the computers, the microphone, my words, the hats, the clothes, air in this room, house, whatever. It all came from the universe. If you break all that shit down to its most finite properties,
So like the nomenclature of it.
we're
all.
it.
Yeah.
We're everything. We're all of it. So I don't see a separation. So if Ayer raises his left hand, there's no reason why I can't. If we're entangled like that, if we're thinking about the same spiritual stuff, or who knows how the shit works, but we all think alike. There's not one idea out there that one person hasn't thought of or that person hasn't. And we extrapolate these things through this filter, this joint consciousness. I have to believe that it's
But I think Cressy
deeper
was
than
saying,
this physical sense that
but,
you're talking about.
but I think Cressy was saying there are some differences there, right? That you just have to account for. Not one thing is the same. Not one thing is going to add up to this perfect 2 or this perfect number 3. And if you're if what you're saying there, Ayer, is right, and there is some form of black holes or errors into mathematics, when I'm shoeing a horse, and if I continue to be off an eighth of an inch, that eighth of an inch grows exponentially in time, and I've created a problem because I didn't go back and fix the error. I didn't make it the hole in which it should have been. And so it just grew. It just snowball effect. A quarter of an inch grew to like 4 inches of mistakes.
Now you're getting into chaos theory.
And
This
if
is
you
another branch of mathematics.
this is what I'm talking about.
you
man.
just okay, so I was my jewelry checked out on Terrence Howard for a few reasons. But now I'm kind of coming back to the court going, okay, is there or is there not an issue with mathematics? Have we built this construct on sand and we didn't use proper concrete foundation? Because now we're stacking the cards, and now some of these things aren't holding up. They're not holding their weight.
You have to distinguish mathematics from everything else. Mathematics itself has already said that it is inconsistent and incomplete.
But why do we teach off of that? Why do we teach off a inconsistency and build so much on it when the very basic of it is not consistent?
Because people don't understand maths. I fundamentally, like before, right? You said you didn't like maths, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this entire time we've been talking maths. Have you ever seen a number?
Never
No.
seen a number.
No.
Right. So the original, give you an idea on how far we've strayed from mathematics. The original textbook for mathematics was Euclid's Elements, which was a geometrics book, geometric textbook. There is not a single number in that book.
I like math.
Yeah. There's not a single number in that book. It's all shapes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Right. And it's all just, hey, I've got this line, it intersects, and it makes a triangle. And these are the properties of the triangle based on what the properties of the lines are.
Right.
That's maths. What you're taught is, I have an integral. Here's like 50 different differential equations. Do them. That's computation.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the difference, right? You're not
Right.
taught maths. You're taught computation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I agree with you.
Yeah.
So every time you see an equation that you have to solve, to say, hey, no, that's not maths. That's computation. The maths was, how do I come up with that equation? Right? So it's not so much the equation itself, but the process to derive the equation, which then other people can apply. That's the difference.
Is there always a solution?
No.
Damn.
Noodles.
See, that's what I'm talking about, Air. You're not giving me much hope in math anymore. I mean, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. But even math, there's a chance that math can be flawed, and we're good with it. No one's going to.
It already says that. It already admitted it. So take, for example, the halting problem, right?
Explain that.
So imagine you have, it's much easier to explain it with computer programs because it makes people have more experience with computer programs, right? Imagine you're typing on your word processor and it freezes, right?
Okay.
Now you have to work out, has it crashed? Where it's just, if I leave it here, is it just going to continue doing this infinitely? Or is it going to recover? Fundamentally, is it going to come back? Is it going to resume its normal operation? Or is it going to be stuck in this frozen state forever?
Yeah.
That's the halting problem. You don't know what that is. You can't look at the program and say, you can't look at the computer program and say, hey, this is, it will resume in 10 seconds, right? So you have to, and that's a fundamental problem in mathematics. It's called the halting problem. If you have a given equation, will that equation stop? Remember, we're doing computation, right? So for any given computation, will this computation stop? And the answer is, you can't know.
I don't think you can. I think that's
right.
something, without even me being like this mathematician, even I can computate that.
Yeah.
And that's more a deep down instinct.
Yeah.
Can't even quantify that, but that's just like my instinct.
Yeah.
So all I'm trying to say here is that a lot of these things you're asking, is it wrong? Well, it's not wrong, but at the same time, it tells you that it is wrong.
Right.
At the same time, it tells you it is inconsistent, incomplete, and
it's the biggest oxymoron that we have yet.
Yeah. Right.
And the bigger thing is our problems right now that we have with our own language and our own mathematics
and our own models.
As far as we know, It only relates to fucking Earth. I always like to think that there's something. Well, I know for a fact we're missing a bigger puzzle. Like we are just babies, infants grasping at straws.
Yeah.
But on the cosmological scale of things, we have really no fucking clue of how this shit
and
really
Biscuit,
works.
yeah, I do want certainty in a way. Like, is there such thing as certainty, Biscuit, or am I just fucking losing it? But it would be nice to have something that's fucking certain in life.
I know what's certain in my life. I know at some point my heart and brain will cease to function and I will no longer exist in this physical body.
And I will pay taxes. I guess that's certain.
Taxes is a choice.
That is a choice.
I'm talking about shit that's inevitable.
Yeah, death is a certainty.
Painful shits
Life
is a
is a-
certainty. Stress is a certainty.
Yeah.
Hunger is a certainty.
And
Thirst.
Banana Right is correct. Pythagoras was a cult.
Pythagoras was a cult?
Yeah.
Damn. Pythagoras. The
Pythagorean cult.
Yeah.
I can't remember if he was the one who killed one of his students by throwing them overboard or something because he said that the square root of 2 was irrational.
Oh.
And that goes back to the fucking Terrence Howard thing.
And there you go.
So, yeah.
One last question for you. If I'm just basing everything and jumping all over the place before these kids wake up.
I had mine. You never let me answer.
Oh, go ahead.
Or ask it.
Go ahead.
Back to the sun thing on how stars are formed. This boggles my mind. Okay, and where they're strategically placed throughout the universe in these galaxies. I like to think of as a blank. Close your eyes with me. This blank canvas, black void, this canvas. And then in this void, there's whirlpools of fabric or something being disturbed that's drawing gravity. And then imagine these gases that are in this void. And some of these gases get caught in that disturbance and it causes it to collapse on itself and make friction. And then you get this evolution of just turning and sucking of a vacuum, pulling in more gases, more matter, more material, and getting hotter and hotter and hotter
And
at its core.
condensing everything.
Condensing, but yet expanding around itself. And that sun is now formed. And while that sun is formed, it's pulling in larger matter, debris, rocks. And those in turn collide with themselves and has this chaos to it.
Multiple vortices all over.
Forming planets and these
Yeah.
other ripples. Is that how we could look at how stars, and this is just my fantastical mind going to work, to make sense of it. Is that a working theory that you know of?
That's the current theory.
That's the current theory.
Shit. So I'm not thinking hard enough is what you're saying.
No, it's fair enough. Like, I mean, it's what we're taught in general. Like, and we can always think of ourselves as being it's a variation of it, right? Like, it could be done that way. You can think about it that way. Like, consciousness itself is the underlying fabric that pulls this thing in. You can argue it that way,
Right.
but yeah, but at the moment, that is the current theory. It's a variation of like, hey, you've got this mass that's currently organizing itself with energy from somewhere that creates this, right? The only difference is that at least you're admitting it, that hey, there's this other effect that this conscious field that is causing this. Whereas the astronomers would say, no, that doesn't exist. It's just all random probabilities, right?
I have a hard time with the random probability part because if there's disturbances throughout this whole universe that cause something or a gas to get hot enough to collapse on itself and to expand, that means it's something we can't even quantify or even we can only throw or grasp straws at it. There's something out there that has some sort of property to it.
Right.
Right? It's balancing.
But what
everything.
what he was saying too earlier is in many ways we've already crossed our T's and dotted our I's and said this is what it is.
God damn it.
And that's where we're fucked up.
How can we ever know something when we can't witness it when it starts from its form, like the Big Bang Theory, the old Big Bang Theory? How can something become something out of nothing? How could there just be this huge pinpoint of energy explode, gamma, all these different rays of colors and matter and material? Doesn't it have to come from somewhere? Are we saying that there is no some? I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, but where? And then where does that come from? And then where does that come from?
Yeah, because you're looking at a causal chain.
Right.
You're looking at the causal chain. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I can't say for certain.
No one can.
I love. I'm comfortable with the uncertainty and unknowability of certain things. That doesn't mean I'm not curious.
Right.
I am curious, but at the same
we're human.
time,
We're born curious. Yeah.
That's right. But yeah, it's kind of hard to know something if you cannot witness it, cannot measure it, and so we have to theorize it, right? It's kind of like a crime scene investigator, looking at the area, trying to piece the puzzles together, right?
Right.
And the problem is that our crime scene investigators, the scientists in this case, like they're the crime scene investigators in this field, right? They're human. They get it wrong. The problem is that we've got perverse incentive structures on top of that. So going back to the discussion about Alzheimer's, right, where you had a small group of academicians that halted research for 30 odd plus years, by propping up a fake theory, right? They all start building, that feedback loop of, hey, I've got something wrong, but because I've convinced enough people that it is wrong, now more and more people start to believing in that, and therefore we just go awry until there's a correction, right? And because of the incentive structures, such as like, oh, you have to pay for journal access, you have to be at a certain degree to understand it, or you have to understand the lingo of what happens, right? It increases the inaccessibility of that information. Not that the information can't be understood by the common layman. It's just that the feedback loop causes us, particularly on a situation where we don't have direct access to things, where multiple people can't view it.
Right.
It's only the specialists who talk about it. Right? And so they make it their field. And so it's.
But even that, at the end of the day, is their perception, or just, it's still a human idea. It doesn't relate to the universe either way.
That's right.
So how can you build something on that uncertainty is what I'll always fall back on. How do we build on something that we're not sure of ourselves? And I think that Bicky a long time ago said it was perfect. It was just like, instead of, it's okay to be curious, but if you just look at it as what a beautiful sight, that's all you need to just be focused and grateful for, is that you're here in this existence of the unknown, and you're able to, what I like to say, if the universe can create a consciousness that is aware of itself and have these conversations with itself, and even have self-amnesia, right? Just be grateful that you're witnessing and in the presence of it.
Which leads me to that question I was going to ask. Okay, and don't go around this question, Ayer, because a lot of people try to go around this question. I just want you to sit there. You don't have to answer it right away, shit. But if we are humans are possible, is anything possible?
Yeah.
You've consciously thought about your answer. You are aware of what I asked you. You are aware of the variables in which lie in the question. So
there's two ways you can answer that question, right? From purely a theoretical point of view, if humans are possible, like, yeah. Other life forms such as ourselves is possible, right? It's a natural extension. Other things are far more possible. But if there's a uniqueness to us, let me ground it in the contrary argument. If there's a uniqueness to us that makes us particularly unique in around the Earth let's just say, right? We have been given we have a unique role, then something like a human will never be possible.
But do you believe in the repeatable pattern? Like the universe has these certain things that are repeatable patterns, and they're common throughout the universe. Like water is something that
he just said we are probably the only species like us.
Oh, okay, but I'm asking another question. But can we say that the universe has repeatable patterns? Like if I look at a dolphin, it repeats itself. It's a dolphin. It's a dolphin. It's a dolphin. It's a dolphin.
Yeah. Well,
is there other dolphins out in the universe? Is that a repeatable pattern?
They might be, but they may not be necessarily be the same type. Just like there's different types of dolphins, right?
Right. Bottleneck. Yep.
Yeah. Morphic
Bottleneck,
resonance.
Or bottlenose, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got different types of dolphins, and you have different dolphins depending on, the type of water that they live in. There's freshwater dolphins and there's saltwater dolphins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So if there was a dolphin that existed on a different planet, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they would have different characteristics that would make them suitable to live in that area. And I'm not just talking from an evolutionary point of view. So they'd kind of be similar.
Right.
They'd be different.
But they're still these same properties. Like if you look at Earth on a grander scale, and if I was an alien species, right, and I'm looking at Earth and I'm going, okay, this planet obviously it needs to consume energy to eat. Everything on this planet consumes something to eat. This is a natural law of the universe. You have to eat something to sustain the energy. Everything on Earth eats something. Grass eats photons. I mean, like it's a proven thing. And Earth is so vast with all the shit and life we have on it. Mm-hmm. Could we not look at Earth and go, okay, in the universe, this must be
law,
something that is law.
Yeah.
You have to, like, even stars eat.
They eat themselves.
But they're eating, right?
Yeah. I'm not saying, I'm not dismissing that. I'm just saying, that's entirely feasible.
Okay. So
is that considered natural order?
Yeah. Do you think that's a universal order?
Are we looking at natural order and we're just ignoring it?
It could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. I'm glad somebody likes to say I don't know too.
I'm glad you said that.
That's a thing that just goes to the wayside. I don't know.
I have to think that there's other gas giants and other solar systems and other
planets,
Goldilocks planets like this, where you can find life. And it's eating something. And there's this rhythm of the universe that it may look different, but it still has to obey by the same
natural law.
Thank you.
Universal law.
Again, that goes back to what we were saying before about science, that any law that we discover here, right, is universally applicable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's that universality of, hey, if we can understand something here and the creator is rational and we can understand it rationally, then the same laws that apply here will apply elsewhere.
Right.
And that what you just said is a natural extension of that theology.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And what you said, the creator, like, how could you not say none of this shit was created? It's created. I don't care what you call it or what name you have for it, but it is created. We are living proof of the creation. So for people that say there's no creator, I always have to go back and say, but are you sure? I mean, because even us as humans can create another human being. So what gives you the conviction of knowing that you were not created?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I certainly wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't argue that I'm not. Because I would. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't argue that point.
Yeah. You be a damn fool to like. You need to come to me with all the fucking hardcore facts that you can muster if you want to challenge that.
Yeah, I'm just reassured to hear you say that though, Air. Yeah, that you can't even argue the fact.
It'd be hard. You'd be dead pressed.
People try, but they always end up having the problem of turtles all the way down.
Yeah.
Magic miracle happens, therefore, and it only happens once because it's a magic miracle, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Right. And it's like, okay, at some point, at what point does the absurdity stop?
Right.
Right. If your star formation models depend on, hey, we need to seed the model in a certain way, so therefore we can prove our theory. Therefore, theory proven is
Right.
circular reasoning, right?
Mhm.
It just evades the
reality of where we're at.
yeah. So it's
Well, Bicky says it. Bicky's like, you don't need to actually. I'm not saying the creator or what it is, being a being or not. I'm saying whatever it that created us is a creator because it created the reality that we're in today.
And for those who have a religion, even in their books, it says, man is created in the likeliness
or
of
the image of God. Yeah, yeah.
its
Of its
creator. You know, I mean, how do you look?
yeah. The image of God. That's an interesting concept.
It's your image. It's our image of what we think God is, but no one really knows.
There's because it's based on Mesopotamian theory, Middle Eastern religion and talk at the time, and imager means ambassador. So if you're an image of God, what does that make you?
An ambassador of God. But how could you be an image?
It
of
makes
something?
you.
There you go.
It makes you God in many ways, right?
And I like
No,
that.
it makes you the imager, like you're
Yeah.
the authority, but you're not.
But does it not give you the same attributes in many ways too?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that goes back to my whole big thing of it, right? If the universe, God, created us, right? And everything as we already know comes from the universe. For you to separate yourself from the creator, God, the universe, whatever your thing is, it's impossible. You are it. You are God.
Maybe you could sever some sort of entanglement with it where you refuse to.
Yeah, this human body, this meat sack, where you can cut all that off.
Yeah, want to understand, or
Right.
maybe there's a way you can sever the
Tie.
The tie.
Right.
I don't know. That's something
For
else.
for a momentary loss of amnesia for self discovery.
Right.
Let's just say that maybe the universe can hypnotize itself and give itself amnesia just so it can rediscover itself in multiple different facets.
Yeah.
Through multiple different humans, dolphins, monkeys.
Oh, that's crazy.
I mean, I'm just saying things that these are just possibilities that we kind of all kind of think of, and I don't know, man. It just you can take it far and wide.
Yeah.
I had a near-death experience, and where I went with my near-death experience was tailored to me. I could tell you that I exist outside of this physical form, that the universe or God, whatever you want to call it, it's whatever it is, highly believes in us. We are loved. I was 100% me on the other side, but that was tailored for me. I come back to tell you my story because I'm just doing exactly that. It's not a universal fact. It's just my story that was expressed to me. And like Air and I both agree on, the only way you're going to get there is unless the experience has happened to you.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Get your ass out of here. Go do Aussie things. Take care of those kids.
We'll have you back on soon, and then if you have any more questions about what we're going to do for the 365 and how we're going to do it, we can get into Streamyard on the private,
and we'll figure it out.
But yeah, put together that project, and we'll cover your ass on it, good sir.
All right. You guys have fun.
It was nice having you on.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you,
take care
Air.
of them.
To everybody, that was Air. It was just on a whim. We had this great conversation, and it turned.
We decided to
into
take
this.
it live.
So, should not ever waste a good opportunity in life, especially when you're having a conversation with a man that's leagues away. So we're grateful for that.
Yeah. Take care, Air.
Catch you guys. Have a good one.
Later.
Later. So, what did we learn today, students of life?
We don't know a fucking thing.
We don't know jack shit. And everything that we do know was probably built on a pile of goddamn fruity pebbles. And all it takes is somebody to come with a gallon of milk and sog all this shit up so it can all fall on itself. That's where I'm at. And he's wanting to vibe out. So I'm going to join him and get where he's at.
Peace to the Synth Samurai. Carl, what's that joke you had planned for us? I want to know the joke now. You're cold for that, Carl. Goddamn right, Carl. Thank you very much. Welcome in, Azzy. Go ahead. Oh yeah, you'll find it. I like where you're going though.
Resolve that.
Yeah, that sounds dope. You'll figure it out. Keep going. You're close. You're close.
Simon, this is how I struggle picking up that fucking bass line with your track. Sometimes you just gotta struggle to get to success.
Day 318 down, ladies and gentlemen. 318 days down. Fuck. No, Cressy. No. I really want to hear that whistle you got for this. That whistle. Thank you again, Planet Seed Every Day. I love that name. For coming on to Monkey Island and sticking with us. If you want further contact into the Monkey Island thought process, join Discord, where you'll find pretty much everybody you see here on an array of different topics. Check out Simon Graybatch. That man single-handedly created 80s music. Check out Mixmaster. Cresshead is coming out with a new CD. Check out Probes. Doommonger. Viral Beats. These guys are all talented musicians. Aziohead, This World Needs a New Hero. This World Needs a New Negro. Warheart Arts, Roy Droy Void, Carl's Winslow. Half God, Half Beast. The list goes on. Ayer Music, all the way from Sydney, Australia, who was the guest. Banana Rider 69, The Synth Samurai, Hans Vogt, The Machines Ones, and the list goes on and on and on. That email you see under Meryl Darrell is the email you can get into Discord. And that ARP, what you hear is the Hydrosynth. It's on random. It's the full entire C minor scale being ARPed on a random pattern with some reverb, and the filter controls is all over the place. I like chaos. Good night, y'all.